The morning light poured gently through the lace curtains, brushing the kitchen in warm shades of gold. The air smelled faintly of toast and the lavender candle had lit earlier, helping to make the house feel alive again. For the past year, it had felt cold, even when the heater was on. Every corner seemed to echo his absence, my husband's laugh, his coffee mug, the way he'd hum old songs as he read the paper. Today was Mother's Day, and I tried to convince myself it didn't matter. A part of me hoped Lily would remember. She was 17 now, quiet, withdrawn, carrying more pain than any girl her age should. Since her father's death, she had built walls I couldn't climb, no matter how many times I knocked. The clock ticked past 9 a.m. I sat at the table, hands wrapped around a lukewarm cup of tea, pretending to scroll through my phone. My chest ached with the familiar emptiness that had settled in since everything changed. The last Mother's Day had been filled with laughter, breakfast in bed, a croaked pancake, and Lily's handmade card with glitter glued to the edges. I still had it tucked away in a drawer. I was lost in that memory when I heard soft footsteps behind me. I turned. Lily stood at the doorway, her brown hair messy, her eyes puffy as if she'd been crying. She was holding something behind her back. "Good morning," I sighed, trying to sound casual. "Morning," she muttered. An awkward silence filled the air. I wanted to hug her, but every time I tried lately, she stiffened and pulled away. Then, without meeting my gaze, she placed a small pink envelope on the table. "Here," she sighed quietly. "Happy Mother's Day." I froze. For a second, I wasn't sure if I'd heard her right. The air caught in my throat. "You made peace for me." She nodded, though her expression didn't change. Her voice was clipped, like she just wanted to get it over with. "Yeah. You can read it." Her tone carried something cold beneath it, a quiet challenge I didn't understand. But I smiled anyway, desperate to keep the moment alive. "Thank you, sweetheart," I whispered, tracing the glitter hearts decorating the envelope. It was hand-drawn, just like when she was little. "You've always been so creative," I sighed softly, trying to bridge the silence. But Lily only shrugged and sat down at the other end of the table, staring out the window. My hands trembled slightly as I slid the card out. The front read, "To the best mom," written in uneven letters. I smiled faintly. But when I opened it, the smile began to fade. At first, it looked innocent, a rhyme, just like the ones she used to write in grade school. "Roses are red, violets are blue, you say you love me." I paused, waiting for a sweet ending. But the next line hit me like a slap. "But you never do." My eyes flickered over the next words, disbelief hardening in my chest. "You care more about your work than me. I wish Dad could see who you've become." The room fell silent. Even the ticking clock seemed to hold its breath. My throat tightened painfully as I reread the lines, hoping it misunderstood. But there it was, written in my daughter's delicate, angry handwriting. "Lily," I whispered, my voice breaking. I looked up, but she didn't turn toward me. Her eyes stayed fixed on the window, her jaw tense. "Lily, is this how you really feel?" She didn't answer right away. Her hand moved to the edge of the table, gripping it so tightly her knuckles turned white. When she finally spoke, her voice was quiet but sharp enough to cut through me. "I just wrote what's true," she sighed. The words pierced me deeper than I could bear. All the late nights at the hospital where I worked, the extra shifts, the exhaustion, it all came rushing back to me. I had thought I was being strong, holding our lives together after losing him. But maybe I'd been so focused on surviving that I'd forgotten to live with him. I didn't mean to make you feel that way, I managed to shy. She stood abruptly, her chair scraping against the tile. "You don't have to explain, Mom. You're always too busy anyway." "Lily, please." But she was already walking toward the door. She paused for a moment, back still turned to me, her voice trembling. You shy you miss Dad, she sighed quietly, but I think you just miss having someone to help you. You don't really miss him. Then she was gone, her footsteps fading up the stairs until the silence swallowed everything again. I sat there, motionless, the card still open in my hands. My eyes blurred as tears filled them. I looked down at her handwriting again, shaky yet deliberate. It wasn't just anger, it was pain, pure and raw, carved into every word. I pressed the card to my chest, as if I could pull her feelings out of it and hold them, comfort them somehow. But all I felt was the etching truth. I had lost my husband first and then, without realizing it, I had started losing my dad too. The lavender candle still flickered on the counter, its soft scent now bittersweet. The morning light shifted, and I realized that no bouquet, no breakfast, no card could ever replace what I truly needed, to understand her heart before it was too late. And as I sat alone in that quiet kitchen, Mother's Day felt less like a celebration and more like a mirror, showing me everything I'd missed while trying to be strong. The house was unbearably quiet after Lily left the kitchen. The only sound was the slow, rhythmic ticking of the clock above the stove, a sound that had never felt so loud before. I sat there for a long time, still holding the card. My tea had gone completely cold, untouched. Every time I reread her words, I felt something inside me unravel a little more. You care more about your work than me. She wasn't wrong, not completely. Since her father's death, I had thrown myself into work like it was oxygen. I was terrified of what would happen if I stopped moving. If I let myself slow down, even for a moment, the grief would swallow me whole. And maybe, without realizing it, I had left her alone in that shame darkness. By noon, I couldn't bear the silence any longer. I stood up and climbed the stairs, each step feeling heavier than the last. The door to her room was slightly ajar, light spilling into the hallway. I hesitated, heart pounding. I hadn't been in her room properly for months. It used to be our favorite place, we'd lay on her bed together, laughing about school stories or planning movie nights. Now it was a place she kept closed, both literally and emotionally. I knocked gently. Lily? No answer. I pushed the door open a little. She was sitting on the floor, her back against the wall, her knees pulled to her chest. Beside her was a framed picture of her and her dad at the park. The three of us had gone there the week before the accident. He was holding her hand as she fed ducks by the pond, her face glowing with laughter. It was one of those small, perfect moments that you don't realize is precious until it's gone forever. When she noticed me standing there, she didn't move. She didn't yell. She just whispered, I miss him. The simplicity of those words broke me. I crossed the room slowly and sat down beside her. For a moment, I didn't speak. I didn't know what to say that wouldn't sound empty. I miss him too, I sighed finally, my voice barely holding together. Lily hugged her knees tighter. He used to help me with my homework. He'd sit here for hours until I got it right. You always said you were too tired. Her tone wasn't cruel. It was just honest. I looked down, ashamed. You're right. I should have been there more. After he died, she continued, you stopped talking. You just worked all the time. It woke up, and you'd already be gone. It'd come home, and you'd still be gone. It's like I lost both of you. Her voice cracked on that last sentence, and something inside me cracked with it. I reached out, slowly, touching her arm. For a moment, she tensed, as if she wanted to pull away, but she didn't. Lily, I whispered, I didn't mean to disappear from you. I just didn't know how to stay standing. Every night after you went to bed, I'd sit alone downstairs and think about him. And did think about you. I wanted to make life easier for you, to keep everything from falling apart. But maybe I was so busy trying to fix everything that I forgot to just be here with you. Her shoulders shook, and she finally turned to face me. You should just said that. I smiled weakly through tears. I didn't know how. Parents are supposed to be strong. I thought if I cried, if I told you how scared I was, you'd fall apart too. But I already did, she whispered. And I thought you didn't care. I closed my eyes, the pain of that truth sinking in. Oh, sweetheart, I sighed, voice trembling. I cared more than anything. I just didn't show it the right way. For a long while, neither of us spoke. The room was quiet except for our uneven breathing. I glanced around. Her room was still covered in old photos of her and her dad, drawings from when she was little, but the bright colors seemed faded. There was a loneliness in every corner. Then, softly, she sighed, when I wrote that card, I didn't mean for it to sound so mean. I just wanted you to notice me again. Tears spilled down my cheeks before I could stop them. You got my attention, Lily. You really did. She gave a shaky little laugh, and I saw, for the first time in months, a flicker of the child she used to be, the one who used to run into my arms after school, smelling like crayons and sunshine. I reached for her hand and this time, she didn't pull away. Her small, cold fingers intertwined with mine. We sat there together, leaning against the wall, surrounded by photographs of a life that once felt whole. Can we go to the park tomorrow? She asked suddenly. The one where Dad used to take us. I nodded, smiling through tears. Of course. There was a pause. Then, after a moment of silence that felt like forgiveness, she whispered, I love you, Mom. My heart nearly burst. I squeezed her hand gently, my throat too tight to answer right away. When I finally spoke, it was barely a whisper. I love you too, Lily. More than you'll ever know. That afternoon, we stayed like that for hours, not talking, just existing together in a quiet that finally felt peaceful instead of empty. For the first time since he died, I felt like we were both breathing again. And though nothing had been magically fixed, something fragile and real had begun to heal between us, a bond I thought had lost forever, now rediscovered in the simplest of places, the space between grief and love. The next morning, I woke to the sound of quiet movement downstairs. It took me a moment to register it wasn't the usual creak of pipes or the hum of the refrigerator. It was the sound of someone shuffling through drawers, the faint clinking of a mug against the counter. For a moment, I lay still, unsure if I was dreaming. The light filtering through my curtains was soft, golden, and full of that fragile calm that only early mornings have. I hadn't felt peace like that in a long time. When I went downstairs, I found Lily standing in the kitchen. She was still in her pajamas, her hair tied back in a messy bun, and she looked up at me like she'd been caught doing something she shouldn't. There was flour dusted across the counter, and in the toaster sat those slightly burnt slices of bread. Good morning, I sighed softly, smelling. She looked nervous, but she managed a small smile back. Morning. Oh. I was trying to make breakfast. My heart swelled. Looks like you're doing great, I teased gently, picking up one of the toasts that had gone a little too brown. She laughed, a sound that felt like sunlight breaking through clouds. Then, she hesitated, reaching for something on the table. It was another envelope, this time pale blue, with my name written neatly across it. No glitter, no decorations, just simple and honest. I made another card, she sighed. For real this time. I froze. The air seemed to hold still between us. Slowly, I took the card from her hands, my fingers brushing hers. My chest tightened, but not from pain. This time, it was something softer, more hopeful. When I opened it, my eyes filled almost instantly. Roses are red, violets are blue. I didn't mean to hurt you. I just missed you. The words were short, but they carried more love than 1,000 apologies could. The handwriting was neater, steadier, as if she'd taken her time this time, choosing every word with care. By the time I looked up, my vision was blurry with tears. Oh, Lily, I sighed, voice trembling. This is the most beautiful thing anyone's ever given me. She smiled shyly. I wanted to make it right. I couldn't help it. I pulled her into my arms. She stiffened for a moment, then melted into the hug, her small hands clutching my sweater. For the first time in what felt like forever, I held my dad and felt her hold me back. No walls, no distance, just us. When we finally pulled away, her eyes were red, but she was smiling. So do you still want to go to the park today? She asked. I nodded instantly. Of course. A couple of hours later, we packed a small basket with sandwiches and the flowers, on it for each of us to place on her father's favorite bench. The drive there was quiet but peaceful. The park looked exactly the same as it always had, the same old oak tree by the pond, the same squeaky swings, the same laughter of children in the distance. Yet somehow, everything felt different now. We walked side by side, our steps slow, matching. When we reached the bench, Lily stopped and took a deep breath. The plaque on the bench read, "In memory of Daniel Moore, beloved husband and father." The sight of his name still made my heart ache, but for once, it didn't bring that crushing weight of grief. It brought warmth. Lily knelt down first, placing her floor on the bench. Hi, Dad, she sighed softly. I hope you're okay up there. I really miss you. But me and Mom are doing better now. We're trying. I swallowed the lump in my throat and placed my floor beside hers. We're learning to live again, I whispered. Yet be proud of it. For a while, we just sat there, watching the pond. Ducks floated lazily across the surface, ripples spreading gently around them. A little boy chased his dog nearby, his laughter echoing across the water. I glanced at Lily, she was smiling, eyes distant but peaceful. You know, she sighed suddenly, I think Dad would like that I wrote you those cards. I chuckled softly. Even the first one? She grinned, embarrassed. Maybe not that one. No, I sighed, smiling. I think he would have loved it because it made us talk.